Welcome to Voices of History, the corner where the enigmas of the past come to life. Today, we delve into one of the most fascinating mysteries of modern archaeology, the enigmatic Nazca mummies. Could these humanoid figures be proof of lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial contact? Get ready for a journey full of wonder and discovery. Let's begin.
Okay, so we're diving into the Nazca mummies today.
Nazca mummies.
Yeah, you know those crazy Nazca lines in Peru?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently somebody found these really bizarre mummies in the same area.
Oh, wow.
It's like a double mystery, right?
Yeah, it really makes you wonder.
It does. So what are we even talking about here? Like, what do these mummies look like?
So we're looking at these figures that are humanoid, but they have some pretty unique features, I guess you could say.
Unique? Yeah, that's one way to put it. We're talking like elongated heads, 3 fingers and toes on each hand and foot.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
It's pretty wild.
And they're tiny, like barely over 3 feet tall.
Yeah, they're really small.
And the most famous one, this one called Maria, they say she's like 1,700 years old.
Wow. So if that dating is correct,
Right?
that puts these mummies in a really interesting period.
Way before.
Way before modern civilization as we know it.
So the $1,000,000 question is,
yeah.
Are we looking at a brand new species? Some kind of lost civilization.
Oh, like heck, some people are even saying aliens.
Right.
Or could this all be like a giant hoax?
That's what we're trying to figure out today.
Exactly. So to get started, let's talk about this guy, Jaime Mossum.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
He's the one who's really pushing the whole alien theory
Right.
with these mummies.
Yeah, he's a bit of a controversial figure, though.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
He's got a history of promoting like UFO sightings and paranormal stuff.
Right.
So his involvement definitely adds another layer to this whole thing.
It does. So what's he saying about these mummies specifically?
Well, he's put out these initial studies claiming that the mummies haven't been tampered with.
Okay.
He's sticking with that ancient dating, 1,700 years.
Uh-huh.
And he's even saying that the DNA analysis shows like over 30% of it is unknown.
Unknown DNA.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
It is. And it's those kinds of claims that really grab the public's attention,
Yeah, sure.
Especially that idea of unknown DNA.
But, a lot of scientists are raising their eyebrows at Mossum's methods
Okay.
and the labs that he used.
So not everybody's buying it.
No, not really. There's a ton of skepticism from the scientific community.
Yeah. What are they saying? Like, what are their specific concerns?
Well, they're questioning how the whole thing was handled in the first place.
Okay.
The lack of really solid evidence from DNA and carbon dating, and even whether it was ethical to take these mummies to begin with.
Oh, so it's not just about the science.
No, it's not just about the science.
It's about, like, the whole process.
It's just about the ethics of the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, and those are all really valid points, This lack of transparency and not following standard scientific procedures.
Right.
It's definitely setting off alarm bells for a lot of researchers.
Yeah, I could see why.
And then, to make matters worse,
Oh, there's more.
there are accusations that the mummies were actually acquired illegally,
Oh, no.
which could have damaged Peru's archaeological heritage.
Oh, wow. That adds a whole other level to this.
It really does. And it highlights how important it is to consider the ethics of archaeological research
Right.
and exploration.
It's not just about finding cool stuff.
Exactly.
It's about doing it the right way.
It's about respecting the history and the culture.
Exactly. So, okay, we've got the alien theory. We've
Right.
got people who are skeptical of that.
Yeah.
What's the other side of the coin here?
Well, the other side of the coin is the theory that these mummies are actually elaborate fakes.
Fakes?
Fakes, yeah. Some experts think that these mummies were created
Like on purpose?
on purpose, yeah, using manipulated human and animal remains.
Wow.
And they point to similarities with intentionally deformed skulls
Okay.
from pre-Columbian cultures in the region.
So they're saying, like, maybe these aren't aliens.
Right.
Maybe this is just like some kind of ancient practice.
Yeah, and that suggests that at least some of the remains could be human.
It's mind-blowing, right?
It is.
On one hand, you've got science saying, like,
Whoa.
hold your horses. And on the other hand, you've got this super compelling alien narrative.
Right.
And let's be real,
Yeah.
documentaries, TV shows,
Oh, yeah.
the whole YouTube scene, they've definitely hyped up that alien angle.
Absolutely. The way the media portrays these Nazca mummies, it often leans towards the sensational,
Right.
which sometimes overshadows the need for, proper scientific investigation.
Yeah, it's tough because it's such a good story.
It is.
It's hard not to get caught up in it.
Right.
So then in 2021, there was this investigation by Peruvian archaeologists.
Yeah.
And they concluded that the mummies were actually a mix of human and animal remains.
Right.
Intentionally arranged to look alien.
Exactly.
So like a hoax.
Yeah. That investigation was a really big deal because it added a lot more weight to the hoax theory. But of course, those who believe in the alternative theories cried cover up.
Oh, wow.
Which just added fuel to the fire.
So it just keeps going.
It just keeps going.
And speaking of mysteries, we can't forget about the Nazca lines themselves.
Right. Those giant drawings in the desert.
Those giant drawings in the desert.
Yeah.
They've had people scratching their heads for decades.
Absolutely.
Huh.
The sheer scale and complexity of the Nazca lines have stumped researchers for years.
Like, we still don't really know what they're for.
We don't have a definitive answer for their purpose.
Right.
Which leaves the door open for all sorts of theories.
So what if the mummies and the Nazca lines are somehow related? Could they be part of some, like, ancient ritual or belief system?
That's a really interesting possibility.
Right.
The Nazca region is clearly full of secrets.
Yeah.
And it's really tempting to try to connect these seemingly unrelated phenomena.
It's like everything's connected.
Right.
And then just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder,
What?
the Peruvian Ministry of Culture back in 2023, they intercepted some figures that were meant for Mosan.
Oh, wow.
And get this, they were made from bird and human bones glued onto metal plates.
Really?
Yeah.
The Ministry of Culture stepping in like that was a turning point. It showed how worried they were about people exploiting their cultural heritage.
So they're taking it seriously.
That's taking it very seriously.
But Mosan, he's not backing down.
He's not?
No, he even announced this $300 million investigation into the mummies.
Oh.
And he presented his findings to the Peruvian Congress.
And
he even got support from people like U.S. Senator Tim Burchett.
Oh, wow.
Who's known for his interest in UFOs.
It just goes to show you how powerful belief can be.
Right.
Even when there's a lot of evidence pointing in another direction.
It's like he's really committed to this idea.
He is, and it also speaks to our fascination with the unknown and the possibility of extraterrestrial life.
So where do we go from here? It's like we're at a crossroads.
We are. We've got these two very different narratives competing for our attention. One is rooted in scientific skepticism, and the other thrives on the allure of the extraordinary.
And that's what makes this whole thing so captivating.
Right.
It makes us ask ourselves, what do WE believe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's wild, right? The more we dig into this whole Nazca mummy mystery, the more I realize how much it really taps into our, like, fascination with the unknown. It's like these mummies are a mirror reflecting our own beliefs and our biases and stuff.
Well, that's a great way to put it. It's like people see what they want to see, right?
Right.
Some people are convinced it's proof of aliens.
Yeah.
Other folks are like, nah, this is pretty clearly someone messing with human remains.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important question.
Okay.
What's that?
How do we approach these wild claims? Like when something seems to completely defy what we know, how do we balance being open-minded with thinking critically?
Oh, that's $1 million question, right?
It is.
It's a tough balancing act for sure.
It is.
On one hand, we don't want to just dismiss something because it sounds crazy.
Right.
But on the other hand, we can't just jump to conclusions without solid evidence.
Got it. And that's where the scientific method comes in.
You know, with its focus on observation, experimentation, and peer review, it gives us a way to evaluate these claims systematically and objectively.
So it's like a framework for figuring out what's real and what's not.
Exactly.
So in the case of the Nazca mummies, what's the scientific method saying?
Well, the scientific community is basically saying, like, whoa there, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
They want to see more thorough analysis, more transparency in the research, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Okay, so you mentioned skepticism. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what that actually means.
Oh, for sure.
Can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, so skepticism isn't about being closed-minded.
Okay.
It's about questioning assumptions, demanding evidence, and being willing to change your mind when you see convincing data.
It's not about saying no to everything.
No, it's about being open to possibilities,
Okay.
but also being rigorous in your evaluation.
Got it. You also mentioned peer review earlier. Can you talk a little bit about why that's so important in research?
Yeah, sure. Peer review is basically like a quality check.
Okay.
So other experts in the field go over a research study before it gets published. And they look for any problems with the methods, inconsistencies in the data.
Right.
Anything that could make the findings unreliable.
So they're like fact checkers.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
It's all about making sure the research meets the highest scientific standards.
So it's like having a second set of eyes to catch any mistakes or biases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is especially crucial when we're dealing with extraordinary claims.
Right, like the idea that these Nazca mummies are a new species or even aliens.
Right. Claims like that they need like rock-solid evidence
Ah,
before scientists will take them seriously.
makes sense.
Ah.
But let's be real here. The idea of aliens visiting Earth,
Yeah,
it's pretty captivating. It plays on our curiosity about the universe and where we fit in.
it definitely does. And while scientists are actively searching for signs of extraterrestrial life, it's important to separate speculation from actual scientific findings.
Right, we can't mix up science fiction with real science.
Exactly.
But even if these mummies turn out to be a hoax,
Uh-huh.
and based on the evidence, it's kind of looking that way,
Yeah.
there's still a fascinating story here.
Oh, absolutely. The Nazca mummies, no matter where they really came from,
Right.
they show us how a complex belief can be,
Uh-huh.
how much we're drawn to the unknown, and how important critical thinking is.
Especially in today's world.
Especially in today's world.
Right, where we're bombarded with information all the time.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
They also remind us of the power of storytelling.
Hmm.
Think about it. These mummies have captured the imagination of people all over the world.
Oh, yeah?
They've sparked documentaries, books, and endless online debates.
It's crazy, right?
It is.
It's a testament to our need to understand the world around us,
Mm-hmm.
to find explanations for things that just seem to make no sense.
Right.
And sometimes the stories we create, they're just as compelling as the truth itself.
So even if the Nazca mummies end up being like this clever fake,
Yeah.
the questions they raise
Right.
about our past, our present, our place in the universe, they're going to continue to resonate.
Absolutely. And perhaps that's the biggest takeaway from all of this.
What's that?
The search for knowledge.
Yeah,
It's a journey full of wonder and uncertainty.
that's beautifully said.
Thank you.
That actually wraps up part 2 really nicely.
You're perfect.
In part 3, we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
And we're going to dive into some of the ethical questions
Yes.
surrounding these Nazca mummies and other archaeological discoveries.
I'm looking forward to that. This case really brings up some important points about cultural heritage,
Yeah.
responsible research, and
Right.
the delicate balance between scientific exploration and preserving history.
Okay, so like we promised, let's shift gears a bit
Yeah.
and talk about the ethical side of this whole Nazca mummy situation.
Yeah.
Because it really does raise some tough questions about how we handle these big discoveries.
Yeah.
Especially when they kind of shake up what we thought we knew.
Uh-huh.
You know, they get mixed up with all these sensational claims.
Right. It's definitely a tangled web.
It is.
One of the biggest concerns with this whole thing is the potential harm to Peru's cultural heritage.
Okay.
Like we talked about before, there are accusations that these mummies were obtained illegally,
Mm-hmm.
which means they might have been taken without following, proper archaeological procedures
Right.
and possibly damaging the sites where they were found.
So it's not just about the mummies themselves.
Yeah.
It's about respecting the places they came from.
Exactly. Archaeologists always stress the importance of studying artifacts in their original context,
Right.
Right where they were found. It helps us understand their historical and cultural significance.
Okay.
When objects are removed without careful documentation,
Uh-huh.
we lose crucial information about where they came from and what they were used for.
It's like ripping pages out of a history book.
That's a great analogy.
You're left with pieces, but you can't get the full story.
Exactly. And in this case, the potential for damage is even greater
Why?
because the Nazca region is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, right.
That designation means it's recognized globally for its unique cultural and historical value.
So it's like a really big deal.
It's a really big deal.
And there's this added responsibility to protect it.
Yes, to protect it for future generations.
So it's not just about us right now.
Yeah.
It's about preserving it for the future.
Absolutely. And that responsibility falls on everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah, researchers, collectors, even the general public.
Wow.
We all need to make sure these archaeological sites are treated with respect.
It's okay.
And that any artifacts found are handled ethically.
Now, what about those claims of unknown DNA?
Yeah,
Does that raise any ethical red flags?
it definitely does. Analyzing human remains, especially ancient DNA,
Uh-huh.
It requires careful consideration of cultural sensitivities and indigenous rights. Many indigenous communities consider their ancestors' remains sacred.
Right.
And they believe they shouldn't be disturbed or studied without their consent.
So it's not just about the science. It's about respecting those beliefs.
Right. We've got this clash between the pursuit of scientific knowledge and the need to respect cultural beliefs and traditions.
That's finding that balance.
It is. Researchers need to engage in meaningful conversations with indigenous groups.
Okay.
Really understand their perspectives and get their consent before doing any studies involving their ancestral remains.
So it's about building trust and collaboration.
Absolutely. It's essential. Archaeological research shouldn't be a one-way street.
Right.
It's about working together to understand the past in a way that respects everyone involved.
And this whole conversation makes me think about the media's role in all of this.
Oh, yeah.
We talked before about how documentaries and online content have kind of fueled public interest in the Nazca mummies, often focusing on the most sensational parts of the story.
Right. And that brings up another ethical consideration.
Okay, what's that?
The responsibility to present information accurately and responsibly.
Yeah.
We have to avoid sensationalism or hype that could undermine legitimate scientific investigation.
So it's not about hiding information.
Oh.
It's about presenting it in a way that's engaging and informative.
Right.
But still maintaining journalistic integrity.
Exactly. The goal is to encourage informed discussion and critical thinking, not just to get clicks or views.
This deep dive has taken us on quite a ride.
It really has.
We started with these bizarre mummies.
Yeah.
And now we're wrestling with like these fundamental questions.
Right.
About ethics and science and even like what we believe as humans.
And that's the beauty of exploration, isn't it?
What do you mean?
It's not just about uncovering facts.
Okay.
It's about challenging what we think we know, broadening our perspectives, and having thoughtful conversations about really complex issues.
So for our listener out there, why should they care about the ethical side of this Nazca mummy case, even if they're not, a scientist or an archaeologist?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Because these issues go beyond just this one archaeological discovery.
Okay.
They touch on our shared humanity, our responsibility to the past and future generations, and our obligation to approach the unknown with both curiosity and respect.
Curiosity and respect. Two great principles to guide us as we navigate this complicated world.
Absolutely. And as we keep exploring the mysteries of our planet and beyond, those principles will become even more vital.
This has been an amazing deep dive, packed with intrigue and controversy and some really thought-provoking insights.
I've enjoyed it immensely.
We appreciate your wisdom and expertise.
The pleasure is all mine. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep searching for knowledge with an open mind and a critical eye.
And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive on the Nazca mummies. But remember, the conversation doesn't stop here.
It does.
We encourage you to do your own research. Look at the evidence and come to your own conclusions.
The pursuit of knowledge is a journey, not a destination.
Love that stuff. Embrace the mystery, engage with the evidence, and never stop asking questions.
Great advice.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
See ya.
We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration of the world around us.
Thank you for joining us on this fascinating journey through the mysteries of the Nazca mummies. If you are left with more questions than answers, don't worry. There is always more to discover in Voices of the History. Like, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss our next episodes full of secrets and surprises from the past. And remember, the best thing about history is that there is always more. See you on the next trip to the past.